Mountain Warriors here, putting together a video for tips to help be a little safer and healthier when out doing the swimming that we do in the creeks.
We wanted to do this video because we know we've done a lot of creek exploring and videos in the creek, and we wanted to make sure if anyone was to replicate this or was inspired by what we were doing, if anyone replicates what we're doing, we want to make sure no one gets injured and no one is mistaken by our videos and making it look like we can just swim around like it's a swimming pool. We are definitely in nature, and nature is very unexpected, and there's a lot of things you cannot predict and that are very dangerous about swimming the creeks, even though it's just the creeks.
Yeah, I think basically what we're trying to do is give some safety tips, warnings, precautions off of what we've learned. We're not experts by any means. We've been doing this for years together as a hobby. We've definitely learned a lot, as obviously through experience. That's what you get, is you get to learn, get down certain things to make you better. And so anyway, that's the kind of things we want to go over here with this video. I think there'll be probably around 4 sections to this video, and we will kick it off with the precautions or the pre-swimming type stuff mentality.
Yeah, so I guess, the first, we're bringing this down to mainly 4 sections, starting out with the precautions, like you said, basically being prepared to go into the creeks.
Yeah, I think the precautions that I was thinking of is basically before we do anything with trails, swimming, anything in the wildlife. I think you should do this with anything you're doing during the day with work, whatever it may be. But with what me and Kenny try to do and getting prepared for what we're going to get into that day, is just go down step by step of what we want to get accomplished, where we're going, and then obviously what we're doing. And that can be as far as your preparedness of what you pack, what you wear, and obviously going into the woods during the summertime especially. You've got all kinds of things to protect against, as far as poison ivy, for example, vegetation, insects, and then obviously the animals. And then I would say encompass your entire environment of what you're going to be around. So we try to take clothing that would help us protect against these things, help us be in a better position to take care of ourselves, be healthier. And then we try to pack backpacks to not only accomplish what we want to do, but also give us things that we may need in an emergency situation or if something happens.
Well, yeah, we do have, I guess we have very light things as far as that goes. We do have Band-Aids and small stuff like that.
Well, I think besides, like he was saying, like a safety kit, which would have some of that stuff, I know that we try to pack extra clothing. We also try to take flashlights, little camping knives that we can use to help ourselves out. You can take sunblock. I know there's a lot of minor things that you don't think about that you should take, and just anything you can take to help yourself out, like I said, just in case if something happens.
So we broke this into the sections. First one was the precautions, the preparation, and then the next one is actually getting to the spot.
So now that we're there, we've had the game plan put together, we had the precautions of what we need to bring. There is a lot to this stuff, but we're trying to simplify it the best we can. And like I said, we're not experts. We're going off of experience. And we want to make it clear to anyone out there that's watching the videos that it's not all roses as it looks of what we put together. I mean, there's a lot of things. Let's say once you are now prepared to do what you're going to do, now you basically want to respect your environment of where you're going and what you're doing. To me and Kenny, we always try to pay attention to what's around us. The potential of some wildlife in certain areas like bears, things like that, is something you want to respect and keep an eye out for. Then obviously on your way there, we would tell you to probably follow the trail the best you could. We get stuck in situations where we have to go off the trails, and that is something you definitely want to be cautious with, even more so than being on the trail itself, because you have a lot of hidden dangers as far as not only poison ivy, potential holes, different things you can step in, but we've run across in the past bees. You can have hornets and bees nest in the ground, which can really make for a bad day for you and end your trip pretty quick if you don't pay attention to that.
And for actually finding the creek spot, I definitely pick out a specific spot and remember where you were. Don't just keep swimming down the creek to just no end. You want to make sure you pick a specific spot, and so then you remember where you are, because you could easily get lost if you keep going down the creek. And you could go right into a waterfall or go really anywhere like that. But I guess once we actually show up at the spot, once you find a spot you want to swim at, I definitely take the role, at least one advice for me is to take the role of when you try to find flat areas, or at least areas where you know there's no undertow, there's no undercurrent to suck you under a rock. If you don't know what's under a rock or exactly how far you can go under a rock in certain parts of the creek, then I definitely wouldn't swim near it because you never know when it could suck you under or when there's a weird current like that. It's definitely one tip, at least when you get to the actual spot.
So now that we're actually at the spot, he's giving you a little tip. Once again, there's a ton of things to go over. We're trying to hit specifics of what we've been through and what we're trying to watch. So once you're there, now you're ready to go in. As you can see from the videos, we have goggles to see better under the water. We wear certain clothing that makes it easy for us to be swimming and hopefully stay a little warmer. A lot of the environment that we're in sometimes is really cold water, which can be a shock to the system. You want to be as prepared as you can with what you've eaten. Probably drink some water to make sure that you're hydrated. That's something you don't realize as much as you're in the water. But besides, keeping your body as warm as you can, take those precautions and watch out for different things that can happen to you. Once you're in these holes, like Kenny said, there's all kinds of hidden dangers in here as well. With slippery, mossy rocks, seems to be one of the more dangerous things we run across. Also, when we get into certain waters, paying attention to what's underneath the water before you get in, the speed of the water with the rapids, and then obviously just being smart that me and Kenny do this together. We know people are going to do this on their own, which we don't recommend. You always want to have someone around that can potentially help you and that knows what's going on. And even when we're in these holes, we need to pay attention to where each other is. Not only just in case if something happens, we can help each other out, but I think it's a better way to attack the swimming that you're going to do. Other notes on that with the rocks and the things that happen in the water, we've noticed when we've been swimming, there's been some hidden rocks with some pretty pointy edges just below the water's water level, and you can't see them from outside the water. So to just jump into a hole and not know how deep it is or what's in there, we do not recommend. We always try to check that out to be as safe as we can. Dealing in the rapids, we try to make sure that we don't get into water that's going to overtake us or jam us into a situation like Kenny was talking about. And these are things you definitely want to make sure, because the water itself is beyond powerful. There is no human being on the planet, no matter how big and strong, that can prevent some of the strength of the water and rapid once it's on your back. So you definitely want to make sure. One tip I remember from rafting is if you do get jammed down the creek with water, try to lay on your back, keep your feet up, and that way you're basically just going to bump down the waterway, hopefully with your butt, and you won't get jammed underneath the rock to drown.
I definitely say, a main tip for the creek exploring is definitely don't underestimate the creek. You might think a creek is just a small little waterway. It doesn't look like it's very powerful at all, but even a foot or 2 feet of water can be very, very powerful, like you said, and definitely never underestimate it. It could be one wrong move, or you putting your ankle wrong in a rock, you get sucked back, and suddenly you can't see where you are. It can happen in any of these waters, and that's definitely something that you should never underestimate, the power of the creek. That's definitely something you should be aware of while creek exploring.
Yeah, I think the respect for what you're doing, I think it goes back to, let's say that we even become experts someday or really well-versed in what we're doing. We can never have the cocky attitude that we're not going to respect our environment, or the fact that still things can happen, and you need to be as aware as possible. But the power of the water definitely deserves your respect, and that environment that you're in is not your own. It's nature, and as much as it's pretty and we show a lot of beautiful things in these environments, there are dangers outside of snakes, fish, things like that, and the water, rocks, things like that are definitely something to watch. One thing I would add on too is we get into some deeper holes, and these deeper holes present opportunities for us to swim down and see different things in nature that most don't, and we get to present that on these videos. But it's also a danger to be holding your breath that long. There's a certain pressure to the water. We've been in holes as deep as 8 to 12 feet, and basically, that's something that you want to make sure that you have someone with you to watch, keep an eye on you, and don't push it too far and too hard to where you're going to make a mistake that you might regret.
Being with someone else is definitely important. Never going to these spots alone. even if you're close to the water, or even if you're close to the road, it still is not smart to go alone. Just like people say don't hike alone, I'd say creek exploring, even more so, do not go swimming alone, because one wrong step, having someone else there could be the difference for sure. Definitely don't creek explore alone. That is a big point to me. If anyone watches these videos and inspired, definitely go with someone else, because that can make a big difference.
All right, so now after going through just some like highlights, we could probably think of some more, but like I said, we're trying to hit highlights of what we've done and what we try to do. We have also realized that our main waterways that we swim in have been very cold. They're waters that honestly are only meant to be swam in the summer. And even at that, we've pretty much kept a time limit on it of probably around 20 to 30 minutes per diving, you know, experience. Basically, when we go in, you know, we stay pretty active, but it's amazing this water is that cold that you really do get, your body temperature drops, I think, extremely. So sometimes what we try to do is we try to basically get out about that time around 20 to 30 minutes. We can do push-ups that really aid to get your blood flowing. And if you ever are that cold to where you feel something's off, get out and try to do some push-ups, stay active, get in the sun. Sitting in the sun on a rock really helps out. And if you're able to go back in after that, that's great. If not, maybe just call it a day if you really feel that wore out.
I guess at least one more point I'll make is definitely when you're in the water, I seem to get lost in the underwater world, and I totally forget about anything around me. As far as outside of the water, you should definitely be aware of the stuff that is outside. There could be bears nearby, and not that you'd really have to do much anyway. If you see a black bear, you'd mainly just hold your ground. But you definitely should be aware if there are bears nearby, or if you're swimming right into one, or swimming right in between a mother and cubs. That's definitely something to be aware of, to make sure you are aware of your surroundings, making sure there's not any animals nearby.
Yeah, and I think too, whether we use this or not, in closing, you know, basically what we do is something we really enjoy and it's a lot of fun. It is very taxing to the body, sometimes more than you even realize. So not only to get out and try to warm yourself up, but just realize how much it takes out of your, you know, swimming I think is the most best physical activity you can do to do exercise. So sometimes the swimming we do in the rapids, to swim against that power is really hard. So it can really throw you off. Make sure after you're done you get yourself warm, get something good to eat, and definitely try to take it easy, especially if you don't feel that well that night.
Yeah, this is a good point to make when actually exploring the creek, that there are certain dangers. Like obviously we ran into the rogue bass, like you just mentioned, which isn't going to do any real damage, even though it did cut my ankle. So it is worth noting that bass made me bleed. So it is worth noting that it cut my ankle and made me bleed. So that could be a major problem. I mean, if that hits your face, that could hit your eyes. So, I mean, we downplay it because it's just a bass, right? But it could have done some real damage if that hits my eyes, or, I mean, something like that.
I want to make it clear, too, with what we've done, me and Kenny, we try very hard to respect nature. You have to realize when you're in their environment, that is their world. And us just being there, we're part of nature as well. But we work very hard on trying to not only pick up trash and do things like that to help out, but when we're in these waterways, we're picking up any garbage that we find to get it out of these swimming holes. We find fishing line that we try to get out that could harm animals or fish. We also find a lot of different sunglasses, you know, lures, things like that, which is fun. But we really want to make a point of it to tell everyone that when we do this swimming, we realize we're potentially affecting the environment. It's nothing that we want to do to harm anything with that, but you have to work hard and watch where you step, where you swim, what you disrupt. We work really hard now through the years to not lift up as many rocks that actually destroys animals' environments. And also, as you've seen from some of the videos, there's fish building nests in there. They're laying eggs. So that is something to definitely watch. I know it's something that we take serious, and we hope everyone out there that's you know, trying to do these things also keeps that in mind. These guys, one example, people building these rock statues, that's really neat, but that's actually
Not
something
good.
if you read about, that it's not good for the environment as well. If you get something out of the tips that we've given, we know we try to, with this site and the videos we present, we try to present a world that most people don't see, or you know, a lot of people really don't want to do this kind of swimming because it's fun, but it is very cold water. And it is a little extra work, but we love it, and we hope that this helped with not only what you guys are going to see on these videos, but just giving you a few extra tips, which we're always trying to take in as well, to help make your experience that much better. I think for anyone watching out there, if you have extra tips for us that you want to throw our way, we're more than willing to listen. And we hope to actually work with not only other people that are interested in this, but potentially even people that work with the parks, to help improve anything that we're doing, and obviously the environment that we're in.
Yeah, this was the first video we did mentioning all the dangers in creek exploring, and obviously there are a ton. We went over some of the dangers of the creek exploring. Obviously, there's other items, like if there are otters, they can do some serious damage, but there's not too many crazy fish, but you never know when there'll be a snapping turtle, and there's a lot of different things, not only just safety to yourself, but also the environment around it. But hopefully you found some helpful tips, and hopefully we highlighted most of the dangers in the creeks.
Yeah, I think, like I said, it's hopefully something that you guys can use, and it's something that we will build on for the future with all the videos we're doing. There's going to be more things we're going to learn. And once again,
back out there in a week, so.
Yes, we're heading back for our August trip. We have 2 left this year. We hope to see some things. Obviously, still looking for the Hellbender himself, on top of some other things. But hopefully, you guys enjoyed this, and we look forward to catching up with you next time. Mountain Warriors out.